Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. I know that some of you may have even forgotten that I actually am a statue review YouTube channel, being so distracted with other things, with video games and the PS5 and my speed runs. But I'm gonna start kind of getting back to basics, doing a couple more cool statues and collectible reviews. And what better way to get back in the game than this massive Queen Studios, 1-to-1 size, 1-to-1 scale, life size, Thanos bust from Avengers Endgame. I'm standing about 6 feet back, like social distancing scale, distancing, from Thanos, 6 feet. You have to stand this far back just to be able to capture the entire bust. This is how massive he is. And so you have a little bit of the backdrop. It's kind of pathetic. You can see that obviously he's on my huge kitchen counter. So this is from Queen Studios. I do apologize. I've completely forgotten what number he is and how many they made. You'll have to check that up, I guess, yourself. They didn't make a whole lot of these, maybe a couple hundred. And he's huge. Okay, so he comes in I think 2 really big boxes, and I had to actually take the middle row of my minivan, the middle row seats out to be able to fit them. So I actually was able to drive to the warehouse and pick it up myself. So in any case, where do we start? So this is by Queen Studios. They sort of made their claim to fame with their Silicone busts. They've since branched out. They're a great company. I really love their attention to detail, their quality, kind of their ability to respond to feedback and to improve their products. I have a couple of their life-size busts. They're some of the best collectibles I own. This thing I've been waiting for a long time. I got it shipped by sea, so it took a few months actually. But it saved a tremendous amount of money on shipping. And then I was also very lucky in the sense that I was able to drive by a warehouse to pick it up because where it landed was actually local to me. I got this from Spec Fiction, online company run by Todd Johnson. I highly recommend him. He's an amazing person, very customer service oriented, and just a very trustworthy person to deal with. So that's sort of the backdrop. Mine was one of the middle to late batches, and I guess just to start off with the elephant in the room, some of the earlier batches had some issues with the silicone, maybe being a little bit too dark. And so there is a pretty easy way of fixing that using like a makeup sponge and some like baby powder or whatnot. And I actually have bought that just to be ready to go. But when I got them and I opened them up, I kind of was pretty happy with the look. I think his shade of purple is completely acceptable for me. I'm fine with it. And he has a little tiny glisten where the silicone was kind of sweating a little bit, no doubt from the long time he was spending in storage at high heat. But I kind of like the effect. I'm okay with it. I don't think he looks ridiculously sweaty. And I think that little tiny sheen is good. I like the effect. I think it makes it a little bit more realistic. I like the fact that he has that little bit of glisten sometimes. And again, it's not ridiculous. So hopefully I'm going really close up. So the fleshy part here is all silicone. He has, of course, glass eyes, nice acrylic teeth, and everything else is polystone. Okay, so just to put my hand on his chest here, you can see how my hand is in relation to him. You can see just how ridiculously massive he is. He's huge. This is truly life size. And I was a little bit on the fence about buying him, just mainly because I wasn't sure whether he was true 1-to-1 scale, and maybe other collectors had voiced their concerns because Queen Studios did later on, make a statement they had gone through with Marvel, and this is truly 1-to-1 size. So the face is all silicone, and everything else is polystone. It's massively heavy. I think if you put them all together, I have to think he's like well over 50 pounds. Certainly, I can't lift him by myself, fully like all in one piece. I have to take him apart, and he actually doesn't come in that many parts. Like this part here, just to see here, like this part comes off. And this is reasonably heavy, and it keys in right here. So that's very nice. So these two come off, and then a lot of the base, these little tiny pieces like the armor plating, that comes off. And it's actually, if you look really closely behind it, it's actually numbered. So it does give you some hints on how to put it together, but that took a little bit of time. So there's a lot of these little parts, but in terms of like the overall piece itself, it's basically the base, okay, this huge base, and then Thanos comes in one piece that you have to just like slide onto the post. And then these two side parts of his helmet come off. So even though he has a lot of little pieces, most of the little pieces are part of the base that gives you sort of the armored, overlapping armored look of, I guess, his throne or his ship. But the actual, the business part of the bust is pretty simple to put together. So you would have to lift him off and move the piece separately. And he himself is really, really heavy. So put together, I think it's well over 50 pounds. And as I've been talking, I've just been giving you like various close-ups. Overall, the quality, as you would expect from Queen Studios, is just absolutely stunning. We'll go with the polystone part. So the polystone part is just completely beautifully made and painted. You see all of the scratch marks here. You see all of the battle damage. The armor. I mean, when people kind of first looked at him, everybody's attention was on like the Silicone portrait, which is great. But I think people really slept on the actual rest of him. Like the armor here is just amazing. You can see all of this, all of the battle damage, the scratch marks. It's beautifully weathered. A lot of nice finish. You can see how good the texturing is over here. And they gave him, I think, the perfect amount of shoulder. People were complaining that he wasn't wide enough. I mean, this thing is already a joke in terms of how big it is. And to make it even bigger would just be ridiculous. I think this is the perfect amount of shoulder to give him so that you can appreciate kind of the size. He doesn't look weird. Really, again, love the detail of the armor, the paint, everything's perfect. And then if you look at it from the side, turn him around, looks really good. And then here's the back. Here's the armor here. And give you the back of the helmet. And then the side right here. Again, just really, really difficult to show you the whole thing because he's just so massive. So look on the side here. Give you a side portrait, back up a little bit so you can see him in all his glory. And of course the back part here, this is really, really nice detail work here. It really the base does a beautiful job evoking sort of the ship and the armor of his throne. You see all of the amazing paint detail. You don't see this very often, of course, the underside of the bust. So kind of showing all of this again with the light. And then all of this stuff here fits in, and these are the pieces that have to be magnetized and you put all of this stuff in. So that's all the stuff that gives you the armor plating, which you normally don't see on display, but they took the time to do that. So here you go. Look at all of the detail of the base. Gorgeous stuff. And they have you have the Avengers Endgame. You can take it off, and you wouldn't normally just notice that. I like to keep it on here, which is fine. So the base I think is beautiful, fantastic. Really appreciate the extra time they took to pull all these little overlapping pieces of armor. And of course it lights up, although this is a little bit of a gimmicky thing. So you have these floodlights at the bottom, but of course it doesn't really get to his face all that much. Trust me, I turn all the lights off just to see. It gives you kind of this nice glow on the undersurface of the bust, but it doesn't really do too much to cast any light on his face. I think that was what they were going for, but he was just too massive and too big for that to really work out realistically. Okay, so, but I do like the effect because there's like this kind of, bluish light. You do have batteries down there, which is nice, so you don't have to kind of be constrained by, by power, by AC power. This is a perfect representation of Thanos. And the silicone, along with the little tiny glistening, it does absolutely give you the illusion of life that all of the silicone busts do. Great detail. Look at his teeth. Very, very nice, okay? Definitely looks like the real thing is dominating your collection. It's definitely a centerpiece collection. Just kind of backing off. So again, everything fits together really beautifully. The silicone portrait, the glass eyes, the teeth, the polyester armor, beautifully done, the base. This is definitely one of the best pieces that Queen Studios has put out. And of course, the sheer massive presence of him in one-to-one life-size scale, really, really hard to overstate that. We have him in person, it's overwhelming, okay? So if you're an Avengers Infinity War fan, if you're a Thanos fan, this is basically one of the pieces to own. And if you can get like one of the Infinity Gauntlets, life-size, by either Hot Toys or by Taurus Studios, and you pair it next to him, that also is a pretty amazing statement. I might try to make a video of the two of them, a very quick one, of the two of them side by side, because I think it is a pretty awesome shot, okay? So there you have it. Queen Studios Life-Size 101 Thanos bust. I think it's like a really nice time for me to make this video. There's a couple of those, couple of videos on YouTube. Not that many. I don't think there's that many people who actually were able to own him. But I think this is a nice time for me to put this up because Queen Studios just announced their Avengers Infinity War Thanos torso. So if you can believe it, the torso is even more massive than this guy. He's actually from the waist up and with one arm with the Infinity Gauntlet on the hand. He's missing the right arm, but the left one, with the gauntlet on is there. And so you can imagine this is literally like from the torso up. So it's almost like a full size. Like I would guess it's from here all the way like up to there, So that thing must weigh like well over, I would guess 100 pounds. And the list price for that Thanos is 6,500 give or take. So I remember when this sort of half torso was announced, there was a little bit of consternation, a little bit of like anger, because of all of the those of us who bought this bust felt that the new one would devalue this one somehow. And I was never one of those people, because when I saw their prototype at the Wonderfest shows in Asia and all of that, I knew immediately that it was basically for like a different class of collector. It's like Ferrari, Lamborghini, or supercars versus Mercedes, that type of thing. Like that Thanos is essentially like a life-size character. It's like a life-size Iron Man, for instance. And so it would be like owning, I guess, like maybe a one-to-one life-size Iron Man bust or something, and then be angry they made a life-size statue, or owning quarter or third scale or half scale statues and being angry they made a life-size one-to-one of Iron Man. The market just is completely separate, okay? And I knew that immediately. And I knew that the price point would reflect that. And of course, I was correct. The price point is a life-size price point, essentially. And I don't think it's necessarily overpriced. I mean, it's huge. It's essentially half of his entire body is there with an Infinity Gauntlet. This thing is over, I think, $2,200-$2,300, and a life-size Infinity Gauntlet is like in the neighborhood of $1,000 to $1,200 or so, depending on where you get it. So you add that together, already that's like $3,000, and then you're not including, of course, the torso itself. So again, completely different class of collectible. Another thing that was kind of surprising is that they decided for the torso version to make his face polystone, not silicon. Now, I will say that Thanos is a character because he's sort of like almost like a monster, right? There's so much effect and makeup that the silicon doesn't really necessarily add a huge amount to the realism of the look. When you're talking about human characters like Wolverine or Loki, the Joker, on, silicon, hand-punched hair, glass eyes, they are critical. They kind of give him the piece, the spark of life, right? But when you're talking about, I don't know, like the Hulk or Thanos, or I don't know, like Lurtz or one of the monsters from Lord of the Rings, or one of the orcs, it's a little bit different. Like, you can get away with a lot more in terms of the painting, and you can get away with like a stunning like depiction or stunning realism without using silicon. And I think they figured out that for Thanos, they could get just as accurate and just as amazing a look with just polystone, well painted, versus silicon. Maybe they would use translucent resin, and they can achieve much of the same effect. And they probably didn't want to run into the same controversy with the darkening of the silicon and the upkeep and the people complaining about what if it doesn't last, and just the labor of creating a silicon portrait of this size and appropriately painting it. They decided to just do away with that and just go polystone. And again, their prototype looks fine, looks fantastic, looks fine with it. But I have to tell you that for a certain price point and for what they're looking to sell it to, when you're talking about the class of collector who's willing to spend, and if you want to look at tax and shipping, you're looking at $8,000, right? It's going to cost $8,500 to ship that torso. At that level of collector, is probably not going to quibble over an extra 500 to 1,000 or whatever if you just made the face silicon and putting that effort. They're limiting it to only 99, which is again a life size limitation. And you should be able to make the silicon that good with the glass size, with everything else, if it's just limitation 99 and you're selling for 6,500 a pop, okay? And so at that point, I think that there is enough differentiation between this Thanos bust with the limitation in the low hundreds and the very, very exclusive life-size type of version, full body version, half torso of the Thanos they just released at 99. And the fact that this Thanos is of course full silicon with the glass eyes and the acrylic teeth, and their Thanos, I just don't know. I mean, for sure, it's not silicon; it's going to be polystone. So I think there's enough differentiation that this piece's valuation is going to be completely unchanged. So that's kind of my feeling on comparing the latest release, the half torso Thanos from Kree Studios' Infinity War versus mine. This is the older silicon bust. I think again, there's enough difference to distinguish the two, where they don't really affect the other's value, okay? And there's already some controversy over the torso because Kree Studios did take some artistic license. They wanted to show the power of Thanos, and so they put him, and they gave him the Infinity Gauntlet. And of course, the problem is that in Endgame, he never had the Infinity Gauntlet that he had in Infinity War, and with him in full armor, and the armor they dressed him up as, he shouldn't have the Infinity Gauntlet. He should have the large nano gauntlet. So they had to take a little bit of artistic license, which I completely understand because the overall effect is just so much more amazing, so much more cool with him and the Infinity Gauntlet. But unfortunately, it is not screen accurate, and there are going to be some fans who are going to be picky about that. Okay, it remains to be seen if there are enough of those who are willing to spend this type of money, who will be able to overlook that, or who will be supportive of that artistic decision. So there you go. Getting back to this bust, I just really he has no bad side. So most of the time, people basically are showing him from the front, but I really like him, from the side here as well. You can just get to see all of that armor as well, the undersurface of the bust. This is like a really cool shot as well. You don't see this shot in many reviews, where they're actually kind of showing the undersurface. You can kind of see all of the ribbing, the metallic armor plating and the ribbing are the little tiny individual plates. All the way along here are actually individual pieces that you snap into place with magnets. I kind of like these kind of turbines, again, for giving you the reminiscent of the throne mechanics, and of course the floodlights down here. So everything is just amazing. And so again, this is what separates Queen Studios, and this is sort of their niche. This is what they started the business, in. And while they're branching out, I do kind of hope that they keep in mind that that is what is separates them from XM Studios, Prime One Studios, is this type of work. They've been in it the longest, and they need to continue to, I think, keep that niche. The only other, there are, because this is copycat, right? Everybody wants to make money. So this is in China. So other studios are trying to, come at Queen Studios and take away their business. Infinity Studios are making silicone torsos, okay? And they're full torsos with arms. They did a Bruce Lee that looked amazing. Harley Quinn is going to be coming out. They just did Amira from Aquaman. So, and of course they have the original Trinity with the Wonder Woman and Superman and Aquaman as well. And I think they have a Batman in the works. So there are other companies, who are coming after Queen Studios' share, consumer base. There's another company, completely unknown, who just made one of the best Godfather busts of Marlon Brando I've ever seen. So there is competition in the field. And I think Queen Studios needs to use their expertise to sort of continue to maintain their hold on the market. So I hope that they don't lose sight of that. Loki, Wolverine, Thanos, Hulk, what else is coming out? Wonder Woman, Battle Angel Alita. These are all centerpiece busts, silicone, punched in hair, glass eyes. That's what made them famous. That's what, again, the first piece was not even licensed, was Wolverine. It just kind of blew everyone away. I really hope they continue to keep their focus on that and not get too much into statues. I have one of their, I have their movie Thanos Endgame, Thanos quarter scale on order, because that looks amazing. It's fine to do some of that, but I feel like, if you get into that type of arena, you're gonna run into, again, Sideshow, XM, Prime One. Marketplace is way more crowded. I think this is still where Queen Studios' bread and butter should be, because there's nobody makes them quite like them, and at a reasonable price point. Remember those huge torsos? Again, a Thanos torso, $6,500. Infinity Studios running at around $4,000. Okay, $4,000 for their pieces. That's a little bit out of the price range of most people, and even for me, the size and the price is giving me pause. So I think the busts are still, where they should concentrate their attention on, and where they can differentiate themselves from their competition. So that's it. This is basically my thoughts on the Queen Studios Lifesize 101 Thanos bust. He's been on my kitchen table for literally, I think, 6 weeks to 2 months. I just haven't had the time to make a video that does him justice. But again, on the eve of the pre-order for the Queen Studios half torso, the torso version, I thought this was a nice time to get this done. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it adds a little bit of my thoughts and my perspective, and gives you a few, angles that maybe some of the other YouTube videos don't quite give you. That's why I always like to watch multiple reviews, like from Extreme Collectibles, for instance, and others on the internet. It just, you have different ideas, different perspectives, and also, different shots, and all put together, it gives you a pretty good idea of what this piece is like under, kind of normal lighting, not under optimal lighting, just with the lights overhead. And again, with my hand, you can see how big he is. All right. I hope, again, you found this somewhat useful. And until next time, do take care. Bye-bye.